Hey, Sister Brunch family, I know you are so excited to listen to this amazing new episode, this amazing new season. We can't wait. We've been working really hard for the past several months to bring it to you. But very quickly, I wanted to shout out a couple of amazing community partners that we worked with over the last year. So first of all, shout out to American Cinematheque. We were invited for our second time to be part of their Friend of the Fest podcast festival. We had the legendary editor, Ms. Lillian Benson, ACE, who, by the way, the film we screened was her very first narrative feature film that she cut. So we were so proud to show Alma's Rainbow as part of the Friend of the Fest podcast festival. American Cinematheque is an amazing place. They've got all kinds of films and events all the time in Los Angeles. Go to their website, americancinematheque.com, and sign up for their newsletter to find out what events are happening if you're in the Los Angeles area. Also at that same event, David Hunter Jr. introduced Ms. Lillian Benson. David Hunter Jr. is the host of one of our favorite podcasts, Post in Black. Post in Black shares the stories of Black post-production professionals, and I will say that they are starting to expand. They're doing all kinds of different guests now. Obviously, you can see the ways that we all feel very connected in our work. Their website is postinblack.com, and you can follow them on Instagram at postinblack. Finally, I will say two things. We had amazing grant support by Pop Culture Collaborative over the last year, as well as fiscal sponsorship by Women Make Movies. So thanks so much. All right, I promise that's it. Let's get into this amazing episode and amazing season. Welcome back to season 6 of Sister Brunch. This is the only podcast that shares the stories of Black women and gender expansive people thriving in film, TV, and media. I am your host, Fanchon Cox.
And I am your co-host, Sean Pipkin West, and we're really excited to tell you about today's guests. I wanted to bring these two filmmakers on because they both work together on the groundbreaking show Act Your Age, which is now showing on Netflix.
Absolutely.
It's a wonderful, wonderful show. Reminds me of the sitcoms I watched in the 90s, and it's Generation X. So I love it. I love it. I love it.
It's so good. It's so good. So Act Your Age stars the legends Tisha Campbell, Kim Whitley, and Yvette Nicole Brown. And to quote a review on IMDb, it is grown living single. And I just thought that was perfect. It was also recently nominated for a Humanitas Prize for an episode that deals with the overturning of Roe v. Wade. I loved that they addressed this. I also have to say, as a woman in her 50s, so much gratitude to our guests for telling this story because I recently celebrated my menopause day. I hadn't realized that, and too many of us didn't know this, that after 1 year of not getting your period, you are officially in menopause. One time I went through 11 months and got it, but this time it was real and it was very recent. So really seeing this show has been so uplifting and lovely. I'm so appreciative of our guests.
Well, congratulations, Fanchon.
Thank you, Sean.
Act Your Age was created by our guests, Allison Faust, and the pilot episode was directed by Monique. So they both have a lot of shows and films that they've worked on and shows that you have watched and loved, just to name a few. Everybody Hates Chris, A League of Their Own, the Amazon series, Family Reunion, The Neighborhood, and Grey's Anatomy, just to name a few. But it's literally like 500 CVS receipts is how their IMDb credits, okay? So without further ado, I want to welcome Allison Faust and Monique Joella Evans.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Hello. Thank you.
We're so proud to have you on.
I was going to say, welcome to the Menopause Club.
Thank you. I think, right? Oh my goodness. So we love to start our show by asking our guests to take us through their journeys. Allison, I know you grew up in the CPT in Compton. My husband is also from Compton. So after this, actually, I need to see if maybe y'all went to school together while you were there. You're a mom. You've done just some amazing things. You were found, or I guess that's how they say it, discovered by one of the Wayans, Keenan Ivory Wayans. So please just tell us your journey of how you ended up creating this beautiful show and doing all the other things that you do as well.
Well, like you said, I was discovered by Keenan um, when I was doing a radio show, 92.3 The Beat, John London and the House Party. And he heard one of my sketches. And it was at the time that he was just starting his late night show.
Oh,
So
yeah.
the funny thing is, I never thought I'd be doing this for a living. But I listened to those sketches in my on my commute and happened to fax them one, and they were doing it for a month. And Keenan called, and literally from there, we then did his talk show. And right after he called, he said he was doing Scary Movie. We did that. Then Damon said he needed a woman for my wife and kids, and it just kind of snowballed from there. It was through the people I met and the people I got cool with. And, I met Wanda Sykes on Keenan's late night show and did a couple of her shows. And it just
Wow.
sort of, I literally fell into the business. You
Oh my
know,
goodness.
my idea was that when I retired from Cal State Long Beach, where had my main job, real job, I was going to write a novel. Like I always knew I was a writer, but it didn't even dawn on me that Hollywood was an option. I didn't know who wrote these shows, but I didn't think it was a little black girl from Compton,
Right.
you know.
Right.
So, and once I got my foot in the door, I just kept working, and it kind of stuck. And then Bounce called about doing a show for them and asked me to pitch on it, and I did. And that's how we got to Act Your Age.
Wow. So did they already have an idea of the show,
Wonderful.
or they called you and said, what show would you like to create?
All they told me was that they wanted three friends of a certain age um, who lived in the DMV and were well off. And I figured by a certain age, I would hope they would be, you know.
Right.
Yes.
I mean,
I
Yes.
mean,
it gives us more room for comedy if they are, and I'm not
Yes.
opposed to the struggle either. I did some freelance episodes for my friend Renata Shepherd for Good Time around the same time.
Yeah.
So I've been both places, so we can
Yes.
find funny everywhere. But
Yes.
this is true.
for At Your Age, it was just fun to play these friends who've known each other through everything, the good and the
Yes.
bad times. And I
Yes.
think that's
Yeah.
what people responded to.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, Mornike, I would like to talk about your journey real quick, or have you talk about, because your journey is kind of unusual. And I have to say, and because you're in the music, and
Yes.
and you're one of the that rare breed that films multicam shows as well as single camera. And I would also love for you to talk about the difference of what
Okay.
that is. So let's hear your journey, if you can
Yeah.
briefly. Let's hear it.
My journey, I actually started as a writer, but as a journalist. So that's what I was studying in undergrad. Um, I watched, In Living Color. I have so many episodes memorized. So it's just, amazing to be working with Allison. But it really wasn't until it was in the late 90s, in the early 90s, after I worked as a journalist, like I was at the Washington Post writing, and I covered the Hill, that I decided that I wanted to go to film school and that I was going to be a filmmaker. That's when it dawned on me that you could, like Allison said, it was a career. You know what I mean? With Spike and all the things that was going on. And I remember in college, someone said, one of my professors was like, "Why don't write a script for a different world?" And I was like, "Oh, they write though." You know what I mean? So, um, that's kind of where I started. But my first television gig was on Rap City. because I knew people. I was in DC. I'm from the DC area. And so I had friends that worked there, and someone fell out and they needed a producer. So I kind of made that my internship for my, for my grad school. And I produced Rap City. But then at the same time, I remember one of my film colleagues was like, I talked to our professor and they said, we could get a job as a PA in television. I was like, what? I was so excited. I didn't know that was like a regular, normal thing. So my first PA gig was on a movie called Deep Impact. So it was kind of like doing both. And I loved it. We were, 12-hour days. That's how you know you love what you're doing. Like,
Yes.
if you can do it for that long. And so cut to, I came to LA it's 19 years ago, but I really had to start over from working at MTV News, and I produced a lot of award shows, red carpet, et cetera, et cetera. And I have to tell this story because I was trying to transition into directing scripted, and there's not a lot of people in unscripted that know scripted. I had a best friend that worked at TV One. I had just met Meg DeLoach, and they were doing this show called Burn Again Virgin. And that you worked on that, Allison, right? You were like, and you directed. Yeah. And I remember I had just done a show for this this Black and Sexy TV. They were like the online hotness.
Yes.
And it was similar. And so I was like, oh, I want to work on that show. I want to direct. Didn't understand. They had probably already picked the directors, but that's kind of, so I had been wanting to work with Allison and Renata forever. And that was like at the beginning. So cut to how I got into multicam. It was really Meg DeLoach. I had only done single cam of the films I'd done in the different projects. And she had been following my work and looking at my reel, and she was one of the few people I knew other than Claire Brown, who I did God Complex with. She had worked with on Girlfriends. And so she saw me do everything. And she was one of the first people in scripted who saw that I could do, all of those things. And so she vouched for me to Meg, because it's a small world, but you don't realize it. And Meg reached out to me on email and said she had a new show starting on Netflix. And she was looking for directors. Did I know any wink emoji? And I was like, is this it? Is this my chance? And so I'm, all trying to act cool and calm, but sent her my reel again, raised my hand. I shadowed on the show. That's how I had to learn multicam.
Hi, this is Sean Pipkin West, and you're listening to the Sister Brunch podcast. You can support Sister Brunch by following and interacting on Instagram at Sister Brunch Podcast and by leaving a review on Apple or Spotify. You can watch full video episodes on youtube.com/TruJuLo Media, and that's TruJuLo Media. And you can watch highlights on TikTok at TruJuLo Media.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And so then how did it happen that you two, was it Allison? Okay, so when Actor Age started happening, and it started at Bounce, right?
Yes.
Okay.
It started at Bounce. And one thing, I didn't work on In Living Color. I worked on Keenan's late night show.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
So, I just want to make sure so nobody calls you guys and goes, she wasn't there. That worked on In Living Color.
She a damn lie.
I would love for Keenan to call us and say, she correct us, Keenan.
I wish he would.
When I started on Actor Age, I knew the cast I had, and I knew the feel I wanted. So I told the producers and my agents and whoever would listen, I said, I want women of color directing this show.
Yes.
Bring me some Black women directors. And Mornike was on that list, and that you were getting popular then because we could only get you for the pilot.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Look at that.
What?
I that's some kind of cosmic divineness, because I really only had 1 week. That was the year that I did 17 episodes of television in that year.
What?
And I had 1 week available, and I was so disappointed because I was like, I'm not going to be able to do Act Your Age. It was like the best script I had read
Yes.
and really the whole time in terms of pilot script. It was so good. It resonated with me. And I remember being so disappointed because when I talked with Allison and the team, it was a regular like meeting. And I was like, we didn't talk about the pilot. So I was like, okay, well, I guess
You're
I
like,
didn't
I'm
get
a,
it, but hopefully next time. And the funny thing is my agent, she just was very matter of fact about it. She's like, okay, so we got the pilot and you're going to start on that. I was like, wait a minute. What'd you say? So it was a great blessing, and I'm so glad that I got the opportunity. Yeah.
Oh, what a
Yeah.
blessing.
Yeah.
And more, oh, go ahead, Allison. Go ahead.
I was going to say, no, we don't. Well, I don't talk a lot about the work and the technical stuff. Like, I want to get to know you. Like, I've
Yeah.
researched what you've
Yeah.
done
Yeah. Yeah.
before I get on an interview or whatever. And I just want to know, is this somebody I want to spend all week with? That's it.
Right. Right.
You know?
Right.
That makes so much sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
It does. It does. I love it. I just have to point out that for you two, Morinike, you mentioned Spike, and Allison, you mentioned Keenan Ivory Wayans, and at that time, those were our role models, were men. Now you two are the role models. Like, young Black girls have you two as role models. They
Yes.
can name you, right?
crazy.
And it's just
Crazy.
it's
Yeah. I
beautiful.
know.
This
I
is
love
why
it.
we do this. This
I
is
love
why
to
we
see
do
this. I love to see this.
Yeah.
Mornike, can you explain to our listeners, because you were in both multicam sitcoms as well as half hour and hour single cameras, right? Can you explain what the difference is?
Yeah. I mean, the big
Give us a
difference
show.
is
Like, you can give us
time.
examples of the shows, right?
Yeah,
that are
okay. So
multicam and then
it's
single
time
camera.
and energy to me. So
Okay.
multicam that I've done, my first one was Family Reunion. I've done the iCarly reboot. I've done How I Met Your Father. I've done Bunked. I've done The Neighborhood. Just to name a few, because I can't remember all of them. But you have 1 week. You have 5 days to get that show done. Whereas in, let's say, a half hour single cam, you have 2 weeks. 1 week is prep and doing all the meetings and everything, and then you shoot for 5 days. In multicam, you got to kind of prep before you show up, because on day one, you hit the ground running. You are in your production meeting, you're in your table read, and then you're rehearsing. And by the second day, you're showing the entire show, not just a few scenes, the entire show to your showrunners so that they can give you notes, see how it is, and then the next day you're showing it to the execs, and then the next day, 2 days, you're shooting. Even though I know the schedule is a little different for Act Your Age, that's in general what it is. It's fast, but it's also the energy of being able to laugh, knowing comedy, knowing what's funny, knowing the rhythm of it, which is very fun, and knowing the cameras. One of the things as a multicam director, when we're doing the rehearsals, I'm blocking it for the cameras then. So it's like, okay, she's on A, she's on X. This will be pan over C, wide shot, da 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 da. And so it's all at once.
Oh my goodness! So, see, when we get to Let's Talk Tech segment, I'm like, just like you just said, all the things. I'm like, I didn't know there was an X cam, so I gotta hear all about that.
That's the fourth one, right,
Yeah,
Mornike?
yeah.
That's the fourth one?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
That's great.
So this is a question that is hard, but we know our listeners really want to understand this. And again, especially because we want to kind of inspire young girls, younger women to enter into the industry. And so we'd like to talk financials to the extent that you are comfortable. Allison, I'm curious for you again, because you, Act Your Age started off on Bounce, and Bounce is created for Black content. I think I just made the cutoff age because I think it's like 25 to 54. So I'm like, it's still for me, but
You're
that's
still
why
there.
I am.
You can
Right.
still watch.
Exactly. I can, right? I can. But Allison, are you comfortable talking about just what you get paid? And I know there's often scale, so are you able to negotiate that? It can be ballparks or whatever you're comfortable with, but both like kind of what the funds look like as a writer and then also as a show creator.
Or
Well-
maybe,
Go ahead.
Allison, if it made it easier, like what a average like staff writer makes as opposed to a veteran like co-EP that's been like has like 20 shows under the belt, maybe something like that, if that makes it easier.
Well, look, I'm open and honest about it. I don't make enough.
Right.
You know,
Right.
whatever they
Right.
pay you is not enough because this
Yep.
gig is 24/7.
Yeah.
You know, it's no time off because mentally you're always there and you're always creating. I will say now with my experience, I make a lot more than I used to, but studios and streamers aren't paying as much as they used to. And when I got to this level of running a show, or an executive producer, I was looking forward to it when I was a young staff writer. Like, how can they make that much money a week? Like, that's insane.
Yes.
But you get there and you go, hey, ain't that much money. The work is hard. And then again, like I have the paper here because I knew you guys were going to ask. There's a certain per week, like I want to say, and I should know this. Um, okay, let's just guesstimate that it's like 7,000 a week. Sounds like a lot of money. That's the minimum for an executive producer. So you think even if I got that, that's good money. And then I get on a thread with some other showrunners, and I won't talk about their money because I'm not really supposed to be talking about the thread. But you realize when they're complaining about their money,
And you're like,
yeah, can I curse on this show?
please.
Yes, yes, you can.
And
It
look,
calls for one.
Yes.
I was like, what the fuck? Now
Yeah,
I'm
what
mad
the
at
fuck?
everybody.
What?
Right.
You know,
Yes.
and I have good reps who literally fight for me to get the most money. But the best advice I got was from somebody who was like a co-EP, and it was save your money.
Okay.
Because unless you're incorporated, and even if you are incorporated, taxes are coming for you.
Yes.
You know, and it's not just our job, it's every job and every person that's working on a show has to save. You saw what the strike did to us.
Yes.
You know, how
Yes.
long we had to be unemployed.
Thank you for that, Allison.
Yeah, thank you.
Monica, I'd love to ask you because you, even though you've been in this industry for a long time, when it comes to directing television, you know, you just got started right before the pandemic. So
Yes.
what have you seen change as far as the work, the money, and everything, like with the pandemic, the global pandemic, and then the strikes?
Yeah.
And how has that affected you?
Oh, I'm affected. It's, two things. First, I just, like, when I got my first episode, I was struggling, freelance, trying to make it, 2 kids. And so, from what Allison said, I think like on Netflix, this is before streaming, I think I made $15,000 an episode. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. But after taxes, I wasn't set up right. I didn't have a corporation. I didn't have an agent, so at least I didn't have to do that. But it was like $6,000. And that was my only gig until maybe, let's say that was March. And then I got another directing gig in October. Right? So, no, and I didn't really have people that could tell me what to do. I have been finding my way. Until recently, I'm starting to get people who were kind of helping, but I have been just kind of finding my way. So that's why I did 17 episodes in a year, because I'm like, I have to, like, first of all, I need to take every opportunity, you know what I mean? And, trying to catch up on life. And then I was like, okay, I'm burnt out. I need to like put a little space in between. But that was not the right time to do it because this was after COVID, and then the burnout was right before the strike, which I was like, it's not going to happen. They're going to get a deal, it only makes sense. And so it's been, if I'm being very candid, I remember myself and several other directors that were kind of newer, meaning 5 years in, you feel like you're back at square one, like just trying to get your footing, you know? So I'm here now. I directed Grey's Anatomy in February. So I had two episodes right after the strike. I had a Disney episode in November or December, and then I had an episode in January. That's all I've had. Like this whole, you know, because the other thing, you know, from what Allison is saying is like, I love television. I'm a junkie. And so I'm like, I found Tubi and I'm watching news radio because I used to love that show.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, so funny. 22 episodes. 6 seasons, 5 or 6 seasons. 22 episodes, right? So now what's happening is there's 6 to 10 episodes of television. And because everyone was out and is trying to come back at the same time, I'm still considered a newbie. So a lot of the directing gigs are going to people, it should, you know, but they've been in the business longer. But what's also happening is they're, especially in multicam, they're getting like 5 of the 8 episodes. You know what I mean? Right. So it's, you know, I recently said this to a colleague because I also feel really good right now. And I said, the shift is a gift. And for me, it's a gift because I've learned so much about this. I'm learning about my money. Thank God for residuals, but also thank God for another career as a producer. When COVID happened, I produced the Essence Fest from my living room. On something like this, did all the interviews, set them all up. So, and they had a virtual one, you know, and right now I'm doing an award show, you know, and producing an award show. So I'm great. And I'm writing. I'm back to writing, which is what, you know, what's my, So it's like, we'll see what happens, but it's just a reminder to like use all your gifts. And, you know, it is a gig economy for most directors, unfortunately, and writers, you know, that's what they're talking about. But for us, definitely, we just hop. You know, we're never, unless we're in a producing director, we're never like just on a show.
Just one show.
Yeah.
You know, when I started, it was just network jobs. So if you got a job that season, you were good. But if you didn't in the off season, you just had to wait again until staffing season. You know, but when we were talking about 22 episodes, when we were doing Wife and Kids, we do 22 episodes, and then they were like, could you give us 3 more? And we were so burnt out, it was like, do we have to? You know?
Now you're like,
can you imagine?
You're like, please.
Do you want 3 more? I got 3 more ready to go.
Right.
In my pocket.
We can keep going, right?
You know? And I was blessed with Act Your Age because they gave me 16 episodes right off the bat.
Yes.
Oh, they got it right. Yeah.
Right off the bat.
That. Yes.
So,
and 16. And also, let's think about that. That is rare. 16 for a new show?
Yeah.
That's rare.
They knew they had a gem. That's the thing. They knew it.
Such
All right, get you paid what you deserve. It is. It's so good. Hi, sisters and siblings. We hope you're loving our guest this season as much as we do. And if you do, we hope that you will share our podcast with a friend by hitting the share button on this episode. You can also subscribe to the TruJuLo Media YouTube channel to see all of our previous episodes, including our co-host for this season, Miss Sean Pipkin West. And you can subscribe over there and you will never miss an episode. And when you review us on Apple or Spotify, go ahead and tell us what you loved about our guests. What was your favorite thing they said during an episode? Or even tell us what you like to have for brunch or what you would tell your younger self. All right, let's get back to our guests, Morenike and Allison.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move into our Let's Talk Tech segment since we just finished talking about big tech. But in this case, we want to share with our listeners some concept, terminology, you know, anything, piece of equipment that you use when you're doing your job that someone who has not been on set or has not done what you do, maybe they don't know that. So
like to make like to make your work more efficient, or just presentation wise better, anything?
Yeah.
Right. I think so. I'll say this. I'll say that a really great director, by the time you get on set, it looks very easy. You know what I mean? But it's not. So prep is really, really important.
Yes.
I
Okay.
use scriptation and Keynote, and I draw out the blocking and where everyone is, and I have alternative options if this doesn't work or that doesn't work. So Keynote.
Oh, what's Keynote? I don't know it.
So
See,
Keynote
this
is
is
on
yes.
it's on
Okay.
Apple.
Apple.
It's and it's kind of like
Oh, it's
slides
like
a little bit, but they have
okay.
all these cool icons so you can like have cars and figures and cameras,
Got
and
it.
like it helps me um figure out blocking, or like, okay, this is where the camera's going, this is what I'm doing. And then I use scriptation, especially great for multicams, because you get a script change. After that first rehearsal, you're getting a new script, and it might not come until sometimes 1 in the morning, but you've got to rehearse the next day starting at 8 or 9 or whatever. And so it just translates the old script into the new, but keeps all your notes. That's the part. It keeps all your
Yes.
Okay.
notes.
Okay.
And so then you can just adjust one thing instead of having to, you know, start over. Or sometimes I see, because some people are old school. I was very nervous about it because I like to write, but I use my Apple Pencil. But some people still have, like the associate directors, the camera coordinators, they'll just keep their script, and because after a while it's like not the words, it's just what are we doing, where are they, and they'll just change the one thing. So and I'll just say for multicam, it's 4 cameras: A, B, C, and X.
What happened to the D? What happened? What do we have against the D?
Sounds too much like the B.
Yeah, there you go.
Got it.
And then
And
here's
C.
the thing that like clicked it all in for me, and it was Eric Dean Seaton who told me when I was on Family Reunion. He was like, A and X are your close-ups, B and C are your wides. I was like, oh, because I was just like, you
Oh,
could just use
wow.
any anyway. Yeah, so that's it. They're your close-up or your two-shot, and then B and C are your wides.
So
And
it's
so that
always
helps
like
you
that on.
figure, yes, and you can move them
Okay.
around, but it
Yeah.
helps you figure out what your coverage is, and how you want
Yes.
things to work. So that's
I
just a
just
quick that
I
no one else told me. He was like, "Oh yeah, da da da,"
yeah.
So
I just
That's my
love
first.
even. Oh, I was gonna say I just love visualizing you being a boss on set and being like, because even when you talk about you're the person that decides what camera captures what, right? Like
yeah,
I
it's
want to
fun.
see it. I want to be a fly
Yeah,
on the wall to see that. It's beautiful and it's fun,
it's so
isn't it?
fun. It is,
Yes.
but it's also very collaborative. And I just have to say, working with Allison, sometimes you go on sets and you gotta stand tall, but you're kind of a little scared. I'll be honest, because you don't know how things are gonna work. You don't know how people work, and you're trying. For me, I'm always trying to honor the script. And working with Allison was like, she knows her shit, obviously, but she's very easygoing about it. And if she wants something, she'll say, and if I'm not, she'll be like, oh yeah, we can change that. So on some shows, if an actor like is like, I don't feel comfortable with it, a showrunner might be like, well, don't change my words or whatever. That's an ego thing, really. But Allison was like, oh yeah, that's no problem, okay, but if it's something she'll be like, oh no, we really need that. So it's very collaborative and not in a combative way, which sometimes, it doesn't have to be. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
also, as Black women, we have to be nice, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just going to put that out
Well,
there.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
sometimes.
But, but anyway, exactly. Okay.
I mean, no, I love that, Allison. How are you at the point where you're like, no, you know what? I don't need to be anymore.
No, I'm nice just because that's how I was raised. My
Hmm.
mother always said, talk to people how you want them to, treat people how you want to be treated. So look, if I need to be,
Exactly.
I can get big, because that's the thing as a woman, especially when you're in the position of being the boss over everybody and something's
Yes.
not getting done. But I always believe in people treating people with respect. Ugh, with respect. And if I have a problem, I'll pull you aside.
Yeah.
I don't need to get big in front of people unless you try to get big on me. You
There
know,
you go.
again, I'm a girl from Compton. Both my parents were in the
Get it?
military.
Right.
If it
You don't
needs to
want to be
come out.
mean to me
Yeah.
because I can be meaner.
Yeah.
You
Yes.
know, it's like,
Yes.
let's not go there. I really don't want to go there. But listen to Morenike, you know, as long as I've been doing this, I've never heard it broken down like that as far as the cameras. And
Mm-hmm.
it's one of the reasons I've never directed multicam because I'm a little intimidated by it. When I
Well, now you're
direct,
about to.
nah, when I
Yeah.
Yeah.
when
Oh, yes. You must.
well, when I directed on Born Again Virgin, it was a different thing. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Yeah, it's
it
totally
was
different.
single
It is.
cam,
Yeah.
different tone. I knew the coverage, and I learned on the go. And it was like I was kind of thrown into it because I needed to be. We were short
Mm-hmm.
directors, and it was
Mm-hmm.
like I'll try it. I've been sitting on set forever.
Right, right.
Um,
Yes.
Oh, that's
but
awesome.
yeah, so I'm glad to hear that. Right now, I'm cool sitting behind the camera and getting good directors. But and as far as technical stuff for us, that didn't really kick in till the pandemic. I mean, as far as writers are concerned, final draft. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it
Final
starts and
draft.
ends there.
Yes.
Some writers do like keep their script on their iPad, and I'll do that to notate it or that kind of thing. But I still like having paper and being
Yeah.
able to write a note real quick.
Wow. Okay.
Oh,
Yes.
I still like having a paper script and folding the pages and going back to something.
I
But
get that.
yeah, with the pandemic, I think that gave us more technology than we were used to having.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
think you mentioned one of the programs before we were on air, Trello or something like
Oh,
Trello.
that.
Trello.
Yes.
Trello.
I
I
love
hate those
Trello.
things.
Do you?
Yeah.
I love it. That's so funny. Oh, I make Sean and Tasha get on Trello. I love Trello. You do that.
It's
But this
it
I'm not the guest this time, so it's okay. I look at Tasha. Uh-uh.
Hilarious.
I've
Yeah.
had script supervisors and since we're doing all this online, on Zoom or whatever, script
Mm,
supervisors and writers assistant debate on which program was which because you get the cards
it's
and
a lot.
Sierra.
Yeah.
You know, it's a lot, but we made it
Mm-hmm.
work. We
Yes, we
Mm-hmm.
actually
did.
made it work. And the
Yes.
one time I was really grateful for Zoom or whatever we had, I don't even know if it was Zoom, but my daughter went into labor during the filming of At Your Age, and I had to go and babysit my older granddaughter and you know still want to be on set because my youngest grandbaby took her precious time coming and we were in production, so it was great that I could still be on set via that and
Mm-hmm.
talking to Renata Shepherd,
Yes.
who was my second, and
Mm-hmm.
keep up and
Okay.
give notes and stuff like that. So I'm very
Yes.
thankful for the technology we do have because I know it kept
Yeah.
a lot of us working during the pandemic and that we're still
Yes.
able to use. You know,
Yeah.
I could
Yes.
save gas in my
Absolutely.
car if I don't have to drive places to, you know,
Right.
meet with
Preach.
wonderful people like you.
Yes.
Yeah, like oh my
Yes.
goodness. I remember when I was first starting and my agent sent me, I had like 2 meetings every day. I had my Ford Edge. The AC didn't work, so I kept trying to schedule them in the morning so I wouldn't be hot going into, but just going into all of those meetings. And now you can just, nobody's really going back to full in
Right.
person
Yeah.
unless you really
Right,
have to.
right.
Yep.
And
Yes.
this is how old I am. They used to have to deliver scripts. If
Oh,
I wanted to
yeah.
send a
The
script to
hard.
my agent, it was on
Yes.
paper.
I
Oh
And
remember
my
I
that.
With a
I
goodness.
remember
messenger or
that.
something.
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
Or
with the
PA,
messenger,
an office PA would
or
have to
through the
go
mail.
around.
I look, email is like the Jetsons to us. I'm like,
right,
we
right.
are living in the
Yes.
future. I just have to hit a button, and then as soon as I send it, I see a
It's
typo that I made, like, oh
yeah.
my
Of
god,
course.
and it's gone. You know, I mean, come on. I'm from the
Yes.
Ice Age. I remember when
The
my
Jetsons.
daughter used to have that job of dropping off scripts.
Right. I remember the
Uh-huh.
headshots. You had the hard copy headshots. You'd send them all
My
around town.
goodness.
Yeah.
We could talk to both of you forever. I mean,
Yes.
we need to do another one of these because I'm so proud to have you both on, Sister Brunch. But we will get to our signature question, which is that you are sitting down to a Sister Brunch with your younger self. What are you both eating? What are you both drinking? And what do you tell her?
Wow.
My younger self is eating every carb in the room
Yes. Remember when
and
you could.
and strong coffee and a mimosa with no orange juice. Very little
Mm-mm-mm.
orange juice.
Just the champagne.
Just the
Yeah.
champagne,
Yeah.
yes.
Now older me is having an omelet, decaf coffee,
Mm,
and
yep.
some orange juice in my mimosa, but we still having a drink.
Love
Yes.
it.
I love mimosas. Yes.
Yeah. And what I
Um,
would
oh, go
tell
ahead.
her, oh, I'm sorry, what I would tell
Advice.
No.
her,
Yeah. Go ahead, Allison.
advice,
Advice to your younger self.
love yourself, be patient, and you're not crazy when you imagine all those different worlds and places and have those conversations in your head. Because
Yeah.
you will find your ilk
Love
out
it.
there, a bunch of other nerdy people who love words as much as you do and can imagine and see the vision the same way you do.
Mm,
Oh,
it's
love that.
beautiful.
Beautiful.
Love that.
The little girl I see, she's like 7 or 8. And she would be having a Shirley Temple, lots of bacon, pancakes plus biscuits.
Of
Um,
course. Yes.
and it would be so fun. The sad part is I would also be having bacon, pancakes, even though I shouldn't be. And I probably would have, I don't love champagne, but I'd probably have a margarita or a wine. Um, and I think what I would say to her is, it's really similar. I think one of the things is like trust your light and your energy, like, because sometimes when you exude a certain energy, it really upsets people for some
Yes.
reason. You know what I mean? And so it
Yes.
makes you doubt,
Yes.
why are you happy? Why are you this? Why are you that?
Uh-huh.
So just trust like who you are inside. And also, um, it's, I think I did it, but I would just say trust like your inner voice and your gut. I
Yes.
think I sometimes delayed it, but every time I followed like a thought or a belief, even if it felt crazy, it paid off. So just like trust it even when people are like, how can you da da da? Just keep going.
That's it.
Keep
That's a
going,
good
little
Keep
point.
EK. That's what
going.
I'd say. Yeah.
That's a
Keep
good
going.
A
point.
body in motion stays in motion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And not just to my younger self, but to young women now, don't edit yourself. Don't do
Mm,
it.
mhm.
I mean, sure, if you're about to cuss somebody out for no reason, maybe do that. But if you have an idea, especially in comedy, if you think it's funny, say it.
Yes.
Don't, the only thing I regret are the things I didn't say.
Oh
Mhm.
my
You know,
goodness.
that's
Mhm.
Yes.
all.
Yes.
Just go
Yes.
Yeah.
for it. Pitch it.
I would love to add something that I say a lot because I teach classes and I just spoke at some other thing. And for the creatives out there now that are trying to break in, a lot, just remember you're not asking for permission. I think that's really important for people to remember because a lot of times, like people will say, I have this really great idea. Should I write it? You're not asking for permission to be creative. You're not asking for permission to pursue your dreams. And I think once we get past that,
Yeah.
wanting to be validated or okayed by others, we can really push through and go far.
Yes.
Yes. And everybody's on their own timeline. Like there's nothing,
Yes,
Yes.
we all,
absolutely.
Yeah,
fast, slow, we're all on our own timelines.
I didn't start till I was in my 30s. I think I was my Jesus year, like 33
Yeah.
or something when I got in
Yes.
fully into it. Yeah.
In
Oh
my
my
first
gosh.
DGA episode, 48,
Yes.
48.
Yes.
Mhm.
There you
Yes.
Yeah.
go.
There you
Yeah.
go.
It's never
So
too late. I
47
love
for
Mornike,
me.
that.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you mentioned that you do classes for a couple things we want to say to our listeners. This will be out for Black History Month. Act Your Age will still be available for you to watch. I'm going to just put it out there that season 2 will be happening. And I'm going to just say that.
Let it be.
So
Let
season
it
2
be.
will be
There will be a
happening.
season 2.
Support this.
Amen.
Support this show. It is so necessary and needed. Visit both of these women. We'll make sure we have all of your socials up to share. And we're so honored that you joined us on Sister Brunch.
Thank
We
you
are
all
so
so
honored.
Thank you for having
much.
Thank you so much. It's been
so
really great.
beautiful. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Season 6 of the Sister Brunch podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcast. It helps support the podcast.
We appreciate your follows on Instagram at Sister Brunch Podcast, where you can also find your community of Black women and gender expansive people. We post different industry opportunities over there, and we keep you updated on our past guests. Watch, comment, share, and subscribe to our videos at youtube.com/TruJuLo Media, and we are also on TikTok at TruJuLo Media. Sister Brunch is brought to you by TruJuLo Productions and was created by Anya Adams, Christabel Nsiabwadi, and me, Fanchon Cox.
Our producer for Season 6 is Tasha Rogers. Sister Brunch is recorded on the unceded territory of the Tongva and Chumash people in Los Angeles, California. Thanks for listening, following, reviewing, and subscribing, and we'll talk to you next week.